We're in the month of May 2020, and very soon Jupiter and Saturn will begin what we call the retrograde motion. Now, planets have a relationship with the sun, and this retrograde motion is also a part of that relationship. We have the inferior planets and we have the superior planets. Now, what do we mean by inferior planets and superior planets? Viewed from the Earth. So this is our orbit, and we cover that in 365 and a quarter days. If we look this way towards the sun, we will find Mercury and Venus, because these two planets take a lesser number of days to complete that orbit. So these two are traditionally known as the inferior planets in astrology. And if we look outward, we will see Mars, we will see Jupiter, we will see Saturn, then we'll see Uranus, Neptune and Pluto. These are the superior planets because they take longer periods, considerably longer periods than what the Earth takes. So they are known as the superior planets. Here and now, we are concerned with Saturn and Jupiter and what their retrograde movement means. Before we do that, let us take a look at what this retrogression cycle is all about. It is a cycle because it is going to last for about 10 months or so. It begins with the conjunction of the Sun and the superior planet. In this case, we are talking of Jupiter and Saturn. And this is more important for us right now because this year, Saturn is just a house ahead. Jupiter and Sagittarius and Saturn and Capricorn. So we've got to reckon 10 months from both these planets, which means that it's getting extended by a month. Let me explain that. So now in the month of December, somewhere in the month of December, we had Jupiter, Saturn and the Sun together in Sagittarius. This is what we call the first meeting. This is where things actually, begin. So this is the first meeting. There is a lot of discussion about what needs to be done. And then Sun will move on to Capricorn. The meeting doesn't end. This is an urgent meeting. And this has not been sufficient. Now Saturn moves ahead, goes to Capricorn, and he's with the Sun. Now the meeting continues. The meeting continues, and whatever may be the decision, this has been like an examination for us. We have actually faced an examination. We have to remember that, the way we approach astrology today is somewhere very much at fault. We tend to look at it this way, planets, therefore, because of these planetary situations, this result followed. No, that is not true at all. We've got to remember that astrology is a science above all sciences, and it is a spiritual science. Now, what does that really mean? It means that somewhere we are involved in this whole system. If we keep looking at planets and saying these planets and these results, these planets and these results, we are staying away from it. We are nowhere in the picture. So we have nothing to do with this. We become victims of those planets. Whatever follows as result is unexpected. We had nothing to do in it. Look at what has happened to us. which is not the truth. Let's look at it through a metaphor. Let's look at a student. A student goes to learn whatever he goes to learn, and then he has to face an examination system. He will have to face that system, and when he faces that examination, he will be given his result, what we call the report card or whatever. Some kind of a report card will be presented. The report card is presented to the guardian or the parent of that student. So now we have four things. We have the student, we have the examination system, we have the result, which is a report card of what that student has done, or how he has fared, or how well prepared he was, or whatever he has been doing all through the year. And that report card is presented to the parent or guardian. So we have seen four things. Now let's apply this to ourselves. We are students here. We need not argue about why we are here or what we are here to learn, but we are here and we have a purpose here, and we are expected to do some things here, whatever they may be. So there is a certain way of conducting our lives, there is a certain way of expressing ourselves, and there are norms, that nature's norms, that we are expected to follow. And so now that planetary system, which is not the cause of anything outside, it is an indicator, it is a reflection. So now those planets are, let us say, that entire system. So whatever we have learnt or not learnt, however well prepared we were or we were not prepared, whatever it was, those results, the report card has to come to us. So this first meeting of the sun and the superior planet, which has lasted for nearly 2 months. It began in mid-December, when Jupiter, Saturn and sun were together, and then sun went on to Capricorn, then Saturn joined him, and then that meeting continued there at a stretch for 2 months, and then that sun will move forward. Peak results will come when sun is in the 4th house, what we call the square, 4th house, and then the trine, 5th house. So things which, whatever that system was which we faced, whatever it was, we began to see, we might have seen results a little earlier. This is not something to argue about, but yes, those peak results, which, the whole world was able to see as results, not just what one country saw, 2 countries saw, everyone was able to see as this is the result. That happened in those 2 months when the sun was, let us say, in Meena and Mesha, the trine house, from Jupiter's position. But that is not going to happen, because the sun is not going to go into that trine house when Jupiter is here in Sagittarius. Before that, Jupiter will move to Capricorn. So again, it remains 4th house position. So even now, sun is in the 4th house from Saturn and Jupiter. This is still the peak period. And now it is time for these 2 planets to station. Before they move backwards, there will be a stationing of energies. And this stationing of energies is very, very important for us. It will last for a few days, but it will wrap everything up. So now what happens? These 2 planets, Jupiter and Saturn, will station, they'll stop. It is again, let's go back to that examination metaphor. So now we are students, we are doing whatever we are doing, whatever we have done. And now that teacher who's moving forward suddenly realizes, no, let me take a look. Something is amiss, something is not quite right. And then that backward movement will happen. that stationing period of 5 or 6 days will be very sensitive. It will happen in a few days. Because 14th of May, now Jupiter will start moving backwards, and 11th of May, approximately, roughly, Saturn starts moving backwards, and within a few days, 3 or 4 days from now, that stationing will happen. When these two planets station and then they begin that backward movement, only after that Sun will go to that trine house, the 5th house. This happens in this retrograde movement. Sun will go to that 5th house. And then this backward movement will happen for another 2 months. That backward movement is going to happen for a longer period. That's not the point. The point is preparations to re-examine us have begun. We will get to see how we have fared. The first time we faced, what all have we done? Because in India, never mind, in all other countries, there must be other ways of examining. But in India, let's understand it this way. You have the main examination, and then you have what we call the supplementary examination, a re-examination. It doesn't matter if you've not fared so well the first time, we'll re-examine you. That re-examination is what we are calling this retrograde motion, and what it's likely to do, let's look at that in the next video.